Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap here with, of course, one of the oldest friends of the podcast and of the radio show, one of my great friends, IRL. His name is Seige, Mr. Seige Kaltenbach. You can find him on Twitter at the Seige DFS. Here for the hot take. Seige, what the hell's going on, brother?
Dude, as I was telling you, I've been enjoying life. It's been a nice month and 5 weeks off. I haven't done much. It's been so enjoyable. Like, I've been in the grind for like 10 years and finally just not having to do day-to-day content like every single day for a month has just felt so nice. It was a nice vacation.
But you've always sort of dressed like you don't have a job.
What's wrong with the polo shirt?
I think I see a little chest hair, Seige.
Oh God. Good Lord. Didn't put the top button on. It's an older shirt, I guess. It's probably on its last life.
Look, Seige's shirt is not as terrible as I've been letting on, but there are some players out there with some terrible and egregious fantasy ADPs. Of course, we want to bring Seige on to sort of talk about a few of those things. Just first, overall, Seige, any thought? I'd like to hear your just general overall thoughts about the state right now of how these best ball drafts are going versus how traditional redraft leagues are looking. As I've started to put together the redraft cheat sheets for the managed season-long leagues, our primary product, I've been really shell-shocked after doing these best ball leagues, mainly on Underdog for the past, back before the combine, right, until now, with how much I have to shift things around because wide receivers go so much earlier in Underdog. I'm noticing a big difference with now that we're starting to get some true season-long managed league ADP data from some of these sites. I don't think that's necessarily how it's going to be for that. And so I guess from you, a guy who thinks about this stuff a lot, do you think this is a year where we're going to be seeing more of these wide receivers go off early, even in season-long managed leagues where we have these dudes like the Aaron Joneses of the world and the Joe Mixons, who looks like he's going to be able to play this year and stuff like that, fall into the third, sometimes fourth rounds of these things, whereas you're going to have to take wide receivers like Jalen Waddle and Amon-Ra St. Brown and players like that a whole round before those types of guys if you're looking at Underdog. Is this going to transition into redraft, or is this just two different games that we're talking about now?
I think it will. I think it's going to I think early on, I think that you're going to see it kind of be more traditional running back heavy early, and you're going to be like, oh, the wide receivers don't go as early. But the closer you get to the higher stake stuff in Vegas, your FFPCs and your NFFCs, I think you're going to see the wide receivers start to rise a lot. I just think that a lot of these timeshares are just going to be pretty tough to invest a third-round pick in a lot of these timeshares right now for the running backs. And it's like, I can get a stud wide receiver there. I think it is going to be a thing.
All right. So it's as I've seen it.
Like, would you rather use a third-round pick on Breece Hall, or would you rather use a third-round pick on Deebo Samuel?
I think I would rather. I mean, the way I have it outlined right now, I think I would rather take Breece Hall because then if I'm able to get him in the third round, I bet you that I would be able to get in the fourth round. Calvin Ridley. I'm still interested in taking shots on guys like DeAndre Hopkins. Still, fourth, fifth round area.
Yeah, I think that ADP is good. I think the days of fourth to fifth round Hopkins are going to be gone soon.
Yeah, well, probably so. People have forgotten he's really good. But I mean, there's a pocket of these guys that I'm interested in. I know. Are you into Drake London this year? You were super into him as a rookie. I'm getting him.
I just think the coach is just an idiot. That's really the hard part. Like, the weapons are all there, but the coaches just play so slow, and he wants to run the ball, and I don't know.
All right, look,
the talent's there. It feels like that. Like, when this guy gets fired, it's gonna be like the number one job for everybody next year because they're like, look at all these sick playmakers. If we just spread it out and throw the ball.
Yeah, And they actually did, even though they kind of went more with the 7-on-7 sort of draft philosophy with going with Bijan Robinson first after going, what was it, Pitts they went first, then they went London, then they go Bijan. At least with the rest of the draft this year, they did address, some of the guts of the team as far as the interior line and defense and stuff like that. So they're probably putting together a little bit better roster. That whole division is going to be really bad this year.
I just think that the 5th to 6th round running back range this year isn't all that bad. I know it's like the dead zone.
The dead zone shouldn't be a thing this year, man.
I don't think it's a thing. There's a lot of good names in there I like.
Yeah. All right. So let's just talk about some of these ADPs. Do you want to start AFC or NFC? We're going to go by division.
Can we start with NFC West because this is on the top of my mind? I actually was just complaining about it on Twitter.
Okay. Let's go NFC West and let's go clockwise. Let's go clockwise. NFC West. All right. Who do you got?
Matthew Stafford.
Oh,
I came on this show last year and I said Matt Stafford was the worst pick. He's going to be the worst pick again this year.
But Seige, they're saying that Stafford is actually healthy. He's healthier now.
As healthy as he's been is not healthy. As healthy as he's been is like the code way of saying, we can't tell you how hurt he is, but it's better than last year when you saw his arm was broken. Like, that's not saying much.
Yeah. Okay, so Matthew Stafford right now is going as quarterback 21. He's sandwiched in between Jordan Love and Kyler Murray, who might not even play next year. I
would take like 7 of the quarterbacks below him over Matthew Stafford. I would take Bryce Young. I would take CJ Stroud. I would take Brock Purdy. I would take Desmond Ridder, and I probably would take Sam Howell too.
Oh God, Seige. Okay, so he's back, ladies and gentlemen. The Seige. He's here. He's here on the pod. He's back. He's back.
I don't know if Stafford's a lock to even start week 1.
Because
that contract keeps guaranteeing for injury. Like
it's going to be curtain. It's going to be curtains for those guys if Stafford isn't better than he was last year.
Have you seen their schedule? It's absolutely impossible to start the season.
Yeah,
they have 0-4. Like if they're 1-4 in the first 5, I think they've played well. It's at Seattle, home Niners, at Bengals, at Colts, home Eagles.
If I'm looking at the NFC West, I'm just trying to scroll down here and see. I think that maybe you'll think it's different, and maybe you'll think he's old. And I think Tyler Lockett is going a little bit too late right now. I think it's pretty egregious that Jackson Smith and
Tyler Lockett's egregious. ADP's egregious every year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like he's literally going after Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's only going to be in there. I mean, Pete Carroll has already said he's only going to be in there in 3 wide receiver sets. We love Jackson Smith and Jigba. I get it, but dude, Tyler Lockett, if you just look at his scoring distribution versus other wide receivers in the league, it really jumps off the page how many big games he has. I mean, these guys who go like over the course of the last 2 years, he's gotten you a 25 plus PPR point game 21.21% of the time. And the guys who were going around him, like Jerry Jeudy, he's done it 4% of the time. McLaurin, 8.82% of the time. I mean,
those guys are going like 2 rounds ahead of him too.
I don't get it. Also, his bust rate. So in PPR, anything less than 10 points, I consider to be a bust. He's done that 27% of the time. Like McLaurin's done it 38% of the time. Christian Watson's done it nearly 60% of the time. DJ Moore busts 36% of the time. I mean, as far as his scoring distribution, he's actually better than DK Metcalf. So I think the fact that Metcalf goes so far ahead of him and the fact that Jackson Smith and Jigba was going ahead of Tyler Lockett doesn't make much sense to me. And he's a guy who I've been getting a lot of whenever you look at an ADP of 64 or something like that. That's a six round wide receiver. I
love that wide receiver range in general. Lockett, Mike Evans, Tony, Burks. I think that's a really strong tier.
For sure, man. For sure.
And I probably would take them over like Smith and Jigba, DJ Moore, McLaurin. Well, that's why I keep finding myself in that 4th, 5th round going running backs, is because it's like it's kind of these wide receivers of the Jeudy, Williams, London tier, McLaurin, like they get pushed up a bit, and it's like I don't really need 3rd or 4th round Christian Kirk. Let me get a guy who's got 65, 70% of the running back workload on a good offense, and I'll come back and grab an equivalent talent in the next round at wide receiver.
And it's just going to be Seige, like what, and that's why in redraft you take advantage of this stuff in snake draft formats, because I see all those guys in a similar tier. And so when we start getting into auctions and stuff like that, do you really think that Tyler Lockett's going to go for that much less than Marquise Brown, or really that much less than you know?
Probably because he's just boring. He's an old, boring vet.
Yeah,
there's no sex appeal. There's no like, look at me. I drafted Tyler Lockett. I'm going to tweet about it. And I'm going to tell my friends about it. No, right? There's no like. He just does what he does.
No, I get it. But dude, Tyler Lockett's been good. Tyler Lockett's been a
You're speaking to prior on Tyler Lockett. I think I own a ton of Tyler Lockett every year, and I probably will until he retires. And I owned Doug Baldwin a ton before even Tyler Lockett was around. Like that guy was been on my fantasy rosters for as long as I've been playing, basically.
I'll be off him next year. I'll be off him next year because I don't think he'll be a Seahawk, and he'll be older next year. But one more year of Lockett. All right, so we said we're going clockwise. Let's go to the NFC North. You have anybody off the top of your head here in this one?
Overrated? There's no way.
Or like underrated. Somebody who you think that the ADP is just crazy.
Okay, so the whole Green Bay wide receiver situation to me, I think is completely mispriced.
Okay, mispriced how?
I don't understand why Christian Watson's going so high, and I don't understand why Dobbs is going so low.
Well, because Christian Watson's awesome and Dobbs sucks.
Okay, but you're like that confident about it?
Yeah, you're
that confident about it.
Well, not as far as the. I mean, it's like it's orders of magnitude different. That's what you're saying, right? It's like you're talking about a 5th or 6th round pick for. I don't even know where
Dobbs like a 3rd round pick, or like a 3rd or 4th round pick, and I'm actually looking for where Dobbs is. I'm not even sure he's like in the top 200.
I've been doing so much of this redraft.
Like, I'm sorry, there's no way there's a 100 pick gap between him and put Jaden Reed in there too. I know he's got some buzz. But like, telling me there's a 100 pick gap between those two and Christian Watson, who, by the way, has not shown he can stay healthy whatsoever, feels a little extreme.
I think you make a good point about Jaden Reed. I'm never going to buy this Romeo Dobbs thing. I'm not going to do it. Like, and you're right, man. His ADP on Underdog is 39.9. So I've been just doing so many tests and simulations using the new redraft ADP data that's coming in from the season-long sites that I'd forgotten he's going probably a round and a half higher. That's how all these receivers are, though. They're going so much higher on Underdog. That Christian Watson one does seem high. And if you're saying in relation to Romeo Dobbs, I can understand that because
I mean, it's in relationship to the other guys, right? Like, I'm not saying like, Watson is the worst of the three. I think Watson's the best of the three, but
I get it.
He also was the most injury prone of the three. And, availability matters, especially when you're using a pick this high. I just don't see how I would take him over, even the guys that we were just talking about, but like, Mike Williams or Drake London or McLaurin, I probably would take over him too. But I probably am going to be the running backs in this section of the draft.
He's a guy that I'm not ever getting, so I'm trying to scroll down and find where Khalil Herbert is he's actually looking like he's probably priced appropriately. He's not near as popular as he was to start. He looks like he's clearly going in the double-digit rounds. You know what, man? What about just DJ Moore? DJ Moore, his ADP right now is looking at Underdog is, Jesus, do I have to scroll more than this? Where is he?
48.1.
Jesus. So he's going ahead of Christian Kirk. He's going ahead of Ayuk. He's going ahead of Lockett. He's going ahead of all these guys. That's just something I'm simply not going to buy into. A wide receiver in a new situation with a quarterback whose arm I'm not sure of at all. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the passing volume there. Throwing the second least passes in the whole entire league.
And Herbert's just a starter now. They're going to do a lot more running back dump offs and stuff like that.
Averaging 22 attempts per game last year with Fields. Like DJ
There's
Moore,
no way I'm taking DJ Moore over Michael Pittman.
Can have a 27%, you pitch this dude in for a 30% market share. You're staring down the barrel of 7.33 targets. It's Drake London 2022.
Yeah. And maybe 2023 too. Michael Pittman with that arm of Anthony Richardson, though, sign me up with that. Like that, I think I would take at least there's a ceiling there. I'm just not sure what the DJ Moore ceiling is.
Yeah, I'm worried about. Dude, Pittman might be the one I think's too high in the AFC South. Whenever we get to that,
really? Okay, we're gonna definitely disagree on that then.
Okay, imagine that. But as long as we don't make an actual physical bet on it, Seige, then I can at least.
No, I definitely want to do that. Then Pittman's gonna have a career year.
It's like, dude, whenever you and I make bets offline, it's like that PayPal only goes one direction. It's unbelievable how bad I am.
It's been enjoyable. I gotta say,
gambling against you, brother. All right, NFC East. I mean, this for me is easy. I think Tony Pollard going at like the end of the second round is just. I would take him at the 1-2 turn. I mean, it's just I think he's going around too late, dude. It's just like he's been so good even before all this stuff, and now there's no Ezekiel Elliott. It's not breaking news. Like I don't have any, I'm not bringing anything to the forefront here that I don't feel like everybody should be able to see with their own two eyes. I just wonder why the market doesn't see it the same way that I do.
I don't know. He's a player I have at the top of my second round right now, so I completely agree with you on that.
Do you have any worries that they might bring in somebody else besides like Ronald Jones? Or I mean, I feel like
I do have one concern. The whole Dalvin Cook to Miami thing is like so rumored, and it's like okay, but God, if they brought him into Dallas, what a disaster.
Oh. Well, then I'd be. Then I've already lit a lot of money on fire, Seige. If that,
I'm just like I just like they want to run the ball a ton, and like this will lead right into who my most underrated player in this division is, because you're gonna probably just nod your head because it's the same idea. Malik Davis going at pick 215. This is a team that's going to run the ball a lot more with Mike McCarthy, and Tony Pollard has not really shown he can handle the load. Like that's probably the one concern about him if you take him early. And Malik Davis right now is clearly the second guy on that depth chart. Sorry, Ronald Jones.
No, you're not going to say sorry to Deuce Vaughn. You just didn't.
Deuce Vaughn is a small type guy. Like he's never going to be like the belt. Like he's awesome. I love him. The guy made me a ton of money. His whole career really at Kansas State in lots of different ways, but. Like he's not an NFL 1A in any situation. So
you're gonna play Deuce Vaughn in Week 1 DFS if you max enter this year.
Malik Davis will be because like all it takes is one Pollard injury and like Malik Davis gets like 20 touches.
I think that Deuce Vaughn could have a Week 1 like they had with Tariq Cohen had. I'm gonna have at least a few lineups with Deuce Vaughn in case he scores 3 touchdowns in his first NFL game. And
I just don't know like if he can handle enough touches to like where it make him best ball viable. I've
said that for his whole entire college career, Seige. And I know it's a bigger deal going from the NFL from college to the NFL than it was going from high school to college. But in high school, I said, well, I mean, look, he's like 5'4", 5'5". Are you kidding me? Like, but he's held up. I don't expect him to hold up doing anything like he was doing at K-State, right? And at the NFL, certainly he'll never be a volume back. He just, to me, feels like a guy that just comes out and just weird things happen in
James White.
Yeah, weird things happen in Week 1 too, where just everybody just says, "Who could have seen that coming?" I could see Deuce Vaughn having a.
I could see James White out of Deuce Vaughn, but to me, like Malik Davis going to 200s when it's like this offense is going to be way more run heavy than they've ever been before. Just seems absolutely wild to me. Like he's going behind guys that I'm not even sure are going to be on teams next year, let alone like good players.
I need to make a note of that Malik Davis. I'm going to get him up a little bit. That's a good call. Okay, so now NFC South. Maybe I'll just do it as a whole. I have 2 for this, Seige, and so you can. I'll throw them out there. As the world's biggest Bijan Robinson fan, I'm beginning to be a little bit worried that his ADP is getting too high. I saw the interview yesterday that I tweeted out with the Falcons running backs coach, who was asked like, "Hey, you guys had 1,000-yard record-breaking rusher last year. What's it like? doling out those carries between those two guys, and he's like, that's just the way of the NFL now. It's like if you want to have a main guy who is going to get all the main carries, he's like throw that idea out the window. That's when you spend that sort of draft capital on Bijan, I kind of think that you have to, but there does seem to be an organizational stance right now saying like, look, he's a cog in the offense. So I worry a little bit.
Isn't that what they just say for all rookies though? Like, isn't that just rookie speak?
Yeah, it is, but it's just it's a little bit worrisome when you're spending a what is he going 7th overall right now?
9.2 is average ADP.
Okay, so
I'm a little worried until they cut Cordero Patterson. I'll be honest. Until that happens, I'm worried.
Okay, and then just the other one, I think that oh no, I'm sorry. The other South team I'm thinking of is AFC South. So
I got one that I have not understood this the entire offseason. I think this is downright absolutely crazy. And I thought that we learned our lesson last year from this, and apparently we have not. Alvin Kamara is going at pick 100. What?
Was that too low or too high?
Way too low.
Okay. Well, what about
Jamal Williams is going to steal some goal line carries? Big whoop. That's been happening to Alvin Kamara's entire career.
What about the GOAT?
Kendrick Miller?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
We're really now going to drop. Like last year, he was a 2nd, 3rd round pick. We are really now dropping him to there for a 3rd round running back.
What 3rd round is good draft capital for a running back? He was like what, the 4th? Was he the 3rd or the 4th?
This feels like 1 year early to just be giving. This feels like max punishment for Kamara.
Do you think he won't face any consequences for what happened in Las Vegas?
I just don't know the timing of it. Like, you kind of thought this would be done by now, and it's not.
My contention's always been that the NFL was alerted by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department about this prior to the Pro Bowl, and the NFL let him play in the Pro Bowl. So it's like,
he pled not guilty. When's the next court date?
If I was his agent, I would be running with the narrative and saying like, oh, so whenever you guys got to make some money and stuff, you're just going to tell him he can play. And now you're going to come back to acting all virtuous about this 2 years later.
I mean, you got to let the legal system play out. But, I mean, again, they pled not guilty. Trial's not set until July 31st. So, like,
I think that's what people are saying, though. It's like saying, like, damn, there's going to be a trial on July 31st. I could get hit with a nuke here, But
it's not a nuke at pick 100.
Yeah, well, that makes. I mean, pick 100.
Remember the Tyreek Hill year where he was like going super, super low,
yes,
and then like he suddenly was like a top 2 round pick again when everybody realized nothing was going to happen.
Yes,
you have that. Like, where is he going? Like, if I told you Kamara plays 14 games next year, where does he stop on this list? Like,
where's
Joe Mixon, J.K. Dobbins range?
Yeah, I mean, it's Alvin Kamara with yeah. I mean, Jesus, no, it's almost like I'd probably maybe rather have him than Travis Etienne.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like the price is baked into it. Yes, you have to build your roster and understanding you might be without him for 6 games. But okay, it's pick 100. We're not dealing with like a premium pick anymore.
Kenneth Walker's in that range. I would be.
And like, what happens if the trial happens and he comes back and the jury says not guilty? Then the NFL is just going to then suspend him and he's not going to appeal. Like, that's going to take time too. Again, risky, sure, but like all the price. Like last year, the price was like fourth round when people thought things were going to happen, and it rose to 2nd round. Like, this is now 9th round. I just feel like the price is a little too steep for this.
Okay, so what about this? I think his ADP is probably right next to Alexander Madison, right? Because those guys are all
Alexander Madison 76.5, Kamara pick 100.
Okay,
he's right next to James Cook, who will come up later. So that might be the issue for me.
Because you're looking at underdog ADP. All right, let me just hold on.
Yeah, that's what I have.
It's a lot. Alexander Madison's ADP is up to 76.5.
Right, they're basically saying Dalvin Cook is gone, which I don't know about that.
Yeah, man. So on this, he's going at the same time as Zach Charbonnet. That's starting to get a little bit too low, Seige. That's starting.
Brian Robinson's a little too low. We'll bring him up in a minute. I just think that, let me rephrase this. The whole New Orleans situation, there's profit somewhere here. I think it's Kamara, but if Kamara does miss 8 games, right, then Jamal Williams is at 128. It's going too late, and so is Kendre Miller at 134. Oh, right? You should be taking a stand somewhere on this, because Derek Carr has shown that he can support number 1 running backs wherever he's been at all times.
Let's go to the AFC, I guess. Do you want to start in the South or start in the West?
Did you not want to do the NFC East?
Did we not do the? I thought we did the East because we talked about Pollard and stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot to bring up Brian Robinson. I want to bring him up. Pick 107.
Okay. Oh yeah. Talk about Robinson.
Just too low. This offense is gonna be better this year. Better offensive coordinator, better system. J.D. McKissick's gone. I think Brian Robinson's going to be what a weird year for him last year. And this is about where he was going last year. And honestly, I think his rookie season after what happened was way better than anybody could have imagined. So, yeah, Gibson's kind of getting lower in their priority list. I think he should probably be going a bit higher than this too. I would take, for example, all these guys we're going to talk about, like Cook, Kamara, Robinson. I would take them over James Conner, Rachaad White type guys. And that's 20 or 30 picks higher than where
you would take Brian Robinson over Rachaad White?
I have no interest in Rachaad White. Should we talk about him?
Sure.
I have zero interest in Rachaad White.
I know that the underlying metrics on him have been terrible, and if you pull him out, I mean, they're going to make.
They have Carolina Panthers of last year written all over them.
Yeah, and the quarterback situation is gonna, have you seen any of the videos out there of Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, and they look legit bad, just out there just throwing versus air. They can't hit the side of a fucking barn.
It feels like they just might pull the plug a little earlier than some of these other teams. At Minnesota, probably not. Bears at home. Okay, coin toss. Philly at New Orleans, that's 1-3, kind of staring you right in the face.
Yeah, but I mean, a pass catching running back like Rachaad White, who got a good enough in pass protection through last season that Tom Brady would at least was trusting him a little bit towards the end. I just
think this could be a bottom 5 team in the NFL, and I'm just not using a top 100 pick on someone I think could be a bottom.
Yeah, I mean, here's my deal. I think Brian Robinson sucks. And there's no way I would take him ahead of Rachaad White. But, I mean, the
ADPs. Really, Brian Robinson sucks?
I think he's terrible. I think he's no good. I think he lacks talent. Yeah, I think he's bad.
What on earth did you see on last year's tape that makes you think he's terrible? He was awesome.
Awesome? What did you see that made you think he was awesome?
The explosive runs, the stiff arms. What tape did you watch?
I mean, dude, he was never particularly good at Alabama. He had a terrible pre-draft process. He was just brutal at the Senior Bowl. And then this year, clearly, I mean, I hate to knock the guy because everybody loves his story about getting shot in the leg and coming back, and I get it. I think he seems like a cool enough kid, but I just to me, picking up Brian Robinson feels like that team was just dead set on getting their next Peyton Barber. They just want a guy they just want a Peyton Barber type player.
What's wrong with Peyton Barber? Peyton Barber was 900 yards and 8 touchdowns a season. I'll take that. In the 90s? I'll take that.
No, you're talking about Tiki Barber. I'm talking about Peyton Barber.
No, the guy who freaking just ran for 3 or 4 yards of carry and got all the touchdowns.
Well, he didn't get all the touchdowns, but he got a touchdown every now and then, right? But that's it's the same kind of running back, an SEC plotter that comes in and is just he's not overly dynamic. It's just
I think you're just underselling the plotting a little too much there. Personally, I don't think
that Brian Robinson is a dynamic runner. I mean,
I think he's 4.1, 4.2 yards per carry. He's a bruiser. He's never gonna be explosive, but 8 to 10 touchdowns, 1,000 yards. It might not be pretty, but that's 200 fantasy points.
All right. Do you want to make an Antonio Gibson versus Brian Robinson bet?
You want to take Antonio Gibson over Brian Robinson?
Yes, fantasy. They're
basically going at the same ADP, so I'm not giving you a handicap.
Well, are they the same ADP? What are their
Brian
ADPs?
Robinson 107.5, Antonio Gibson 113.6.
All right, why don't you give me 10 points on
I'm not giving you 10 fantasy points for 2 spots at ADP.
At least let's make the format PPR.
Let's make the format PPR.
Yeah.
Man, I'm a little biased. I just saw a sick Brian Robinson catch on Twitter.
There you go.
All right, fine.
All right. Usual bet.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Deal. It's booked. Okay. I told you, man. Now I've just doomed Antonio Gibson. That PayPal.
Yeah, this is good. I've got Brian Robinson.
Only goes
a
one
couple
way.
spots up my board now.
All right. Let's go to AFC. Let's just start AFC South. How about this? Well, I mentioned it earlier. I'm worried about Travis Etienne, just with them saying that they thought he got too much work last year. During last year, I was clearly thrilled with the fact that it just seemed like they completely unshackled him and just let him get all the massive volume. There was nobody who was touching the football as much as he was there for a few weeks into the season. I worry that they're serious about the fact that they kind of want to throttle that down. So I think he's going a little bit too high right now. You got to take Etienne at basically the 3-4 turn.
You know what the problem is? Tank Bigsby's not good. Talk about SEC plotter.
Well, I wouldn't call him a plot. He's kind of a duck-footed. He's kind of a Wayne Gallman. You know what I mean? He's
okay, but it's like, let's just say, it's all good in games in the offseason to say you're not going to give Etienne carries. You get some carries to Wayne Gallman, and your early season schedule is pretty tough too.
Yeah.
They really going to throttle him down against Kansas City in week 2. They really going to throttle him down against the Bills in week 5.
I just don't see how he's going 20 spots ahead of Joe Mixon. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Joe Mixon and me, there is just a lot of, I don't know. There's a lot of, when there's smoke, there's fire there. I can't quite get there. I don't hate it per se.
Okay. I don't like him that far ahead of Aaron Jones. 20 spots ahead of Aaron Jones. That doesn't make sense to me either. He should be here with other guys like Mixon, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, all those guys. I mean, I don't see that. I don't see a huge distinguishable difference between it.
Yeah, I think Etienne's clearly better than a few of those guys. Like
20,
Dobbins and Sanders for sure.
20 spots of primetime premium real estate ADP.
But again, we talked about the wide receivers going in that range. I'd rather take, for example, would you rather have Etienne and I think this works actually perfectly. Hold on, I think this works perfectly. Would you rather have Etienne and Tyler Lockett, or would you rather have Miles Sanders or Deebo Samuel?
I mean, I knew that was going to be a good argument because I understand.
Okay, let's use Calvin Ridley, for example. Calvin Ridley or Miles
Ridley. Ridley really was coming on as just a stud before everything.
So I probably shouldn't mention my AFC South player I'm fading as Calvin Ridley then, huh?
No, mention it because
this price is way too high. This is the absolute ceiling price. Trevor Lawrence has shown he is happy to distribute the football all around. He's not going to ever have a number one guy. He's just that good. Doesn't need to. And the talent around him is solid at the wide receiver position. So I just think they're going to spread the ball around a lot. I don't see wide receiver 1 upside. I'd rather have Deebo. I'd rather have Amari. I'd rather have Hopkins.
Calvin Ridley has a better. I mean, he has a better scoring distribution profile than any of those guys over.
Yeah, but it's a completely different system. In Atlanta, there was 1.5 guys that could catch a football, and sometimes it was just him. In Jacksonville, there's 5 or 6. It's a completely different ecosystem with a completely different quarterback.
But it's a better quarterback.
But again, you're just going to distribute the ball around. What have you seen from Trevor Lawrence that thinks he's going to lock into a guy for 200 targets a year?
Seige, well, look, then if you don't like Ridley, you shouldn't like Christian Kirk or any of these guys either, right? Zay?
Kirk's probably going a little too rich for my blood. I think Zay is probably where I'm okay with that. He's going pick 120. I think that's probably about right.
All the Houston wide receivers, I feel like, are going too late. Like the C.J. Stroud stuff.
I just hate C.J. Stroud. I just don't know if he's good.
Well, But don't you think if you get in a spot where you're looking for a third quarterback in one of these underdog drafts, it's such an easy stack because all of his pass catching options are all still going to be available to you. You can take Stroud in like the 13th round, then take Tank Dell or John Mechie, and you can get a little mini stack there at the end. Just if you're looking for some third quarterback insurance, or you took two quarterbacks who have the same.
I just don't know who the hell made the pick. Did the coaching staff make the pick, or did the owner make the pick? You tell me that, I'll tell you what I really think about him, right?
I think that the whole scheme that was put together to be able to get those two picks in a row was a scheme that was devised because they thought.
You mean overpaying for a Will Anderson, who I thought was the best player in the draft, like on talent?
Yeah, but
paying a bloody fortune because that's who the team wanted, and the owner said, "I want CJ Stroud because he looked good against Georgia."
Yep.
Yeah, that's my problem. Like,
and what he did was he just said, "Look, we're going to overpay here, but we're not going to see it as overpaying because we would have traded up this. We would have traded this much draft capital anyway if we were trading up to get CJ Stroud, and it doesn't matter.
He was going to fall to him. Nobody else wanted him.
Well, that could be true. Somebody could have traded up to 3 and gotten him.
I just don't think CJ Stroud is that good. I don't think there was that much interest in the league around other than Houston, apparently. The Houston ownership. I'm not even sure that the home team liked him.
No. See, wasn't Tennessee trying to get up to 3?
I heard it was for the guy that came in the second round, but it's possible it was for him.
I'm not sure.
Talk about a player who's going way too low, by the way. Whatever Will Levis's ADP is way too low.
Oh, so you think Levis is going to get in the game this year and actually be good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's AFC South.
Yeah. I think the ADP is fair with him and Tannehill. I think like you should probably just split your exposure down the middle because like one of them is going to crush. I'd say it's pretty fair. I would be on the Levis train. I just think he's good, but I thought that pre-draft, I lost a lot of money on him in the draft. So like that's me sticking with my priors. And I'm just going to try to get the money back.
Chigo Okonkwo too in the South. He's going to. I get him in so many drafts. He's like,
that price is ridiculous.
The tight end for the Titans. If you're listening to this show, you know who Chigo Okonkwo is.
I was going to say I'm pretty confident. Yeah, like honestly, there's a bunch of tight ends that are just kind of like, just chilling. Like I can see pop. Like I can see Okonkwo pop. I can see Dalton Schultz popping. Mm-hmm. I could see Greg Dulcich popping under Sean Payton.
You're the only guy that, besides me, who have just even said anything about Dalton Schultz, man. People just forgotten about him. I mean, I
was convinced that's why I was convinced they were going to take like a ready now quarterback that could just like is ready right now. They didn't have to do all the pro. Like the thing with CJ Stroud is like the Ohio State to the NFL system is just such an adjustment in terms of calling plays and reading coverages, and
it seems to be for the quarterbacks. It sure doesn't seem to be for the wide receivers lately. That's for sure.
Well, the wide receivers, but like it's a lot more. It's reading it's like reading defense.
Oh no, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
And it's just been consistent fail after fail after fail as a passer, and CJ Stroud used his legs one game, and
I get it.
He had the best wide receivers he'll ever have in his entire life. It's just.
He's looked pretty good.
I get the price is so fair.
Yeah. But, and it's a super easy stack with the association.
Also, Michael Mayer going up. We didn't do AFC West yet, did we?
No, yeah. Let's go to AFC West. I would love to hear your Michael Mayer take, especially.
Pick 200 is ridiculously absurd robbery.
Yeah, man. I love to hear.
Prototypical Josh McDaniels like guy.
Yeah. I haven't. You know what?
They traded up for him. Like
I haven't seen him on the football field yet. Is he wearing number 87 for the Raiders? I haven't seen any clips of him yet.
I haven't seen any clips either, to be honest.
If
there's certain players you want to see in, I'm just like I know for a fact that he is a Josh McDaniels guy. He's going to crush for Josh McDaniels, and there literally is just nothing.
He's wearing 87, Seige.
He's wearing 87.
Yeah, yep. He's wearing 87. He's wearing 87. They already have the jersey on sale at NFL Shop. He's wearing 87.
Like I get it. It's a second round tight end, but when the Raiders were trying to trade in the first round, nobody was giving up the pick. Poor Kansas City, if they hadn't hosted the draft, would have gotten a bloody fortune for the pick, but they couldn't trade it.
What would that have to?
They had 50,000 fans outside. They had the Super Bowl trophies. You remember the whole thing they did with the Super Bowl trophies in front of the fans when they made the pick?
Oh, you're saying that they couldn't have done it because they would have pissed off the fans too much?
Oh yeah, in the NFL, in the optics, they had this whole big planned, and they traded the pick away.
Yeah, they got King Felix though. That made.
I like Felix. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just like you could easily have traded in the top 6 picks in the second round and gotten him, right?
Yeah, man.
Let Tennessee get the 5th year option on Will Levis. Like like the fact that quarterbacks actually went early in the second round means they were trying to get him the first. Like you try to get in the first round for the 5th year option.
Let me ask.
But Michael Mayer is a stud. Like this is such I've been talking to
you about Michael Mayer for 2 years now. Whenever I call, because for people who don't know, Seige is a Notre Dame guy, and did you go there for undergrad, Seige, or did you go there for grad school? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he's an undergrad Notre Dame guy. So like that he's the hardcore fan, right? It wasn't like he just went there for a couple years of grad school, man. So whenever I watch anything on Notre Dame, I'm always calling Seige or texting him and stuff. And the first time I saw this guy when he was like a freshman, I'm like, oh my God. Who is this?
At Notre Dame, he was starting as a tight end as a freshman. That's solid sign number one that you're probably really good at football.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Josh McDaniels is going to do all the block fake stuff with him, the tight end screens that he loves to throw, and he went to Notre Dame. He played in a pro style system. He's going to know it all. He knows all the reads. So Jimmy G is going to love him.
Well,
if it's Jimmy G, I guess we probably should bring that up. But
what about how do you feel about him? Because Dalton Kincaid is going well before him.
No chance.
I think Sam Laporta is too.
Yeah, no chance on either one of those guys. I mean, Laporta's probably fair at his price, but there is no chance I'm paying a Dalton Kincaid price.
Yeah, because Laporta is 165. Dude, Dalton Kincaid is now up to 123. You're going to take him at the end of the 10th round. It feels
to me, I either want one of the 5 studs, which doesn't include Pitts. It's the 4 and Goddard. I don't mind a Waller or Ingram or an Okonwu type or Schultz, but after that, it's just get me down to I'll jump Mayer 30 picks if I have to. If I have to take Mayer at 160, so bad. I get it, rookie tight ends, but this is not standard rookie tight end, right?
Yeah.
This is a guy who ran the pro side. He knows all this. McDaniels is going to love him.
He's very, very good. He's very good. I'm very, very excited to see him.
What a great landing spot for him. You fell out of the first round, but God, you landed in a perfect spot.
Yeah. What about how about for mine? What do you think about not being too into Mike Williams this year with Quentin Johnston coming in, maybe having a similar kind of role to Mike Williams? It just feels like that the targets are going to be redistributed to some degree.
I'm just not a Quentin Johnston guy, to be honest.
Okay.
I think he's solid. I just
zero effect on Mike Williams.
I think Mike Williams is going to be like Mike Evans. He's just going to get his, and it's everything else that's going to kind of resonate from there. Mike Evans, another guy who's going way too late.
Yep. I mean,
because he could end up on a really good team. He could be this year's Christian McCaffrey, where they're bad and they trade him to a good team, and then you're like, oh shit, Mike Evans is now on. Pick a team that's really good at football, and you're like, oh crap, he's now wide receiver 2 in the entire league, and I have none.
And the one thing about Baker Mayfield too is that I think he's gonna lock on to Mike Evans a lot more than he would lock on to Chris Godwin. He's gonna lock on to the Texas kid that he knows that he's throwing the ball with all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mike Evans is such a prime candidate to get traded to. Unrestricted free agent next year. There's no money on the books for it. It's so easy to just trade him.
I just think my point with Mike Williams is he's going right now as wide receiver 23. I think last year, just an average, I think he was wide receiver 23. And let me just make sure. Yeah, he was. It's just in fantasy points per game or tied. I'm sorry. He was tied with Jerry Jeudy for wide receiver 22 in PPR. It feels like to me, it's is Kellen Moore that big an upgrade to where it's going to offset the Quentin Johnston stuff? And I'm just not sure it is. So I think Mike Williams is probably just I'd like him if I can get him a few spots later.
Yeah, I don't have like a problem with Mike Williams. I just don't know like he's a target or anything.
AFC North. You have any off the top of your head that kind of stand out to you?
I know this is going to sound crazy, but just stick with me. Oh, I think the entire division is absolutely being overdrafted. Legitimately, like the entire division.
Okay, so we're talking Bengals, Browns, Ravens, and why am I brain farting on the Steelers? Okay.
So some of it's playoff. So some of it, like in best ball, is playoff schedules. Like they all play each other in the cold. It like when it all matters. When it's all on the line.
Mm-hmm.
They're in cold weather climates playing each other.
And in the wind.
Not great. So I start with that, and then it's like all these teams like added a shit ton of new pieces. Like, you know, the Ravens went and added some more wide receivers, and they might not be done. And the Browns went and added some pieces, and the Bengals, I guess, are probably like the safest of the bunch. Like, okay, I guess I could get behind that per se, but you know, week 16 playoff match, like at Pittsburgh on Saturday afternoon, like that's not great, you know. And then week 17, you know, when all the money is on the line, right? You're looking at them at Kansas City. I guess that's nice, but again, like last year it was like -0, you know. In Kansas City this time of year.
That's like the second best Week 17 game, though, Seige, right?
Like it's a nice game. Like if it's 0 degrees again, like is it that good?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's
but
just,
again, like the other teams in the division just playing each other. It's just
it'll have a 50+ over under.
Yeah, not if it's that cold. But again, like you know, Cincinnati might be the exception of the rule. Like, okay, maybe I'll give you that, but you know, Baltimore's at home. You know, Pittsburgh's at Seattle. Like. These offenses just like a lot of different guys. No one I really trust. A lot of time sharing, and it's just like, okay, maybe I'll just drop the Bengals from this division and just be done with it.
I've already said mine. Like I can. I'm not getting many Pittsburgh Steelers, although I could be talked into Najee Harris. I don't understand why people are just completely off of that guy.
Running backs and foots are just a bad combination.
I feel like that what they've done to address the offensive line and bringing a 6th offensive lineman that's just a beast in Washington from Georgia, I think it's going to make a big difference, especially in the outside zone game. So I'm not head over heels for Najee Harris, but I'm a little more into him than I was.
Would you take him over Gibbs? I'm not sure I could do that.
Over Gibbs? That's tough. I'm gonna have to look and see. So. Right now, I think right now.
And while you're looking at it, week 17 at Dallas, and week 16, I believe they're home in the Dome. Let's see if I've got my schedule numbering correct. I'm wrong. At Minnesota, still in a Dome.
I mean, God, that's almost better. Their last 2 weeks are Vikings and Cowboys.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I still think I'm just going to go with the pure projected volume of Najee Harris and just more fade all this Jaylen Warren news. Like, no
offense to Jaylen Warren, isn't he like the guy who like is going to steal touches every year about this time?
Yeah, yeah, he's exactly that guy. Yeah, man, for sure. He's like, yeah, if you were to have a picture in the dictionary of like that guy in fantasy circles every year, man, you'd see number 30 or whatever he is for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I was going to say, I think you're right with 30, which shows you how many times we've heard this story before.
Just what sickos we are. Mine is Joe Mixon. I just don't see.
You really just want to buy, huh?
He can't get on board with him. But to me, it's like the value is just too good for. I mean, it's Joe Mixon. I don't like him as a person. I don't like the fact that he seems like he's continued to be a real knucklehead. I love the offense that he plays in. I love the volume role that he gets. I love the fact that he's shown that he can even in the midst.
I do love the running back depth chart. That is a nice case for Mixon.
Dude, yeah. I mean, is it Travion Williams? Samaje Perine no longer there, and then I'm personally not a giant fan of Chase Brown, who they took out of Illinois.
5th rounder, yeah. That's probably you might be selling me on Joe Mixon here.
It's just he's going so late. It's like what I mean. There's not really much I got to. How much do I need to sell you on to talk about a guy that's going almost in the 6th round now. It's like it's pretty.
You're probably on it. All right. I just need Dalvin Cook to go to Miami. Can you just go to Miami? Because I'm not in on any of the Miami running backs. Just go there and then I'll be fine.
All right. So fine. So speaking of Miami, let's shift to the AFC East. You don't like A-Chain? You're not gonna do that?
No, I think that's where Dalvin ends up.
So you really do think that's gonna be the deal?
I just can't imagine why not.
Whenever I look at the AFC East, I think that I think that if people are going to be buying so much into all the different associated pieces here, I know it sounds kind of boring, but I like taking Aaron Rodgers as my second quarterback in some of these, even if I haven't stacked him that much, because I can get him later on with a Mecole Hardman. Sometimes I can get Alan Lazard a little bit later. I can't get him with.
Can I be honest? Isn't it so easy just to fade the Jets and assume they jet one more time?
It is. But I mean, golly, let me just look at the exact ADPs, because I just know from collective memory, it's like Aaron Rodgers really, really sticks around a long ways.
It's like 113 or something.
Okay, yeah, so 118. I like him. I like Jared Goff. I like that whole area right there. I like Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff. I think all those guys.
Also why I will never end it with Matthew Stafford, because I love that entire range.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that would be mine. I said it earlier. I think Dalton Kincaid's probably going a little bit too high if we're talking Buffalo. And unlike you, I find myself getting a little bit of A-Chain, but I completely understand the hesitancy there with him, especially if you think it's going to be a Dalvin Cook arrival.
The guy I think that's going way too low is Tyquan Thornton. Way too low. I think he could be Patriots wide receiver 1 this year. 170 for him.
I've heard that from a lot of – I mean, we're talking about a guy with was he sub 4.3?
Yeah.
And he's capable
when
of
he played last year, like when he got on the field, like it was dynamic. It was fun. Like you don't say that about a Patriots player very often, but it was like fun. Like, yeah, he definitely had some growing pains learning the offense, but it got better. And he was just really blocked by Jacoby Myers. Like he was just blocked. Like he's really just an inside slot guy. Like they try to play him some outside and it worked okay, but like he's a slot guy. He's quick. He's twitchy. He can bust the seam. I really like him in this offense. They got Juju to do a lot of that stuff in between 15, 20 yards. And I think they can let Tyquan Thornton do short and long stuff. I think he's in for a big season.